My name is Cassandra Sun and I'm a town planner at Brisbane City Council. A town planner is really concerned about how cities grow and how they change in response to people's needs. And there's a number of aspects to being a town planner and the things that town planners do. So you can be on the side where you're in a local government or a planning authority and you create plans and you make plans and you decide where schools go, where residential's going to go, where industrial areas go, for example. Or you can work for a developer and you're the entity that's lodging development applications for specific buildings or uses. And then you can also work in a local government and be the one assessing developments against the plan that's been written by a different set of town planners. So there's a lot of different fields that you can go into after you've done a town planning degree, because there's lots of things about cities, lots of aspects about it. I did a town planning degree. I did the Bachelor of Regional and Town Planning at UQ, but there's a number of degrees across universities in Australia. You can also do environmental science type degrees, development and valuation. Town planning, I've often described it to people as you need to know a little bit about a lot of things. So that whilst there is a specific degree, you can also get into it via other avenues. For a town planner, like engineers, you don't have to be registered and do yearly CPD. However, it's something of an ongoing process, I think, with any type of career that you have. It's really good to keep up your learning, but it's more of a self-driven and motivational thing and driven by your own interests, whether you're interested in the architectural and design side of things or more of what we call the statutory planning and legislative side of things. So I think one of the most interesting parts of my current role, of where I've got to, from being like a stock standard statutory planner to where I'm now, is getting to meet with lots of different people from different areas and different backgrounds. So they may be developers, they might be landholders, they might be different agencies or elected representatives. So it's kind of happened by osmosis, but developing your skill set to saying, well, while I've got the technical skills and knowledge that I learnt in my degree, in my everyday work, as a planner, you develop these skills, well, that's your background, but here I am now negotiating to achieve big ticket items like Queen's Wharf, Brisbane, or the tallest building in Brisbane, or whether there's going to be a helicopter pad somewhere. So there's these really varied things that you end up dealing with. So I find that to be one of my strengths, and I was able to, lucky enough to that where I work, it's let me play to my strength, and I've fallen into these negotiating roles and facilitatory roles. But also one of the things I really enjoy doing and have enjoyed is being a team leader. And so leading a team of, say, at most 36 people, and everyone's got a life, and it's a real a skill that you learn along the way about dealing with people. And the new words are leading people versus managing people, and I think it's really rewarding to help people achieve their own career goals at the same time as just delivering their everyday work. We do a lot of things when you get into workplace about personality tests and how you operate as a person, and those things for your own self-awareness help you understand others, that everyone's coming from a different place. And once you get to that point, you can look at things from different people's perspectives, and then it makes you a better listener and a better negotiator, and better at achieving outcomes, because in the end you're all trying to get to the same place, and so you can all come along in different ways, slightly different paths to get there. And I think learning how that impacts on the people you are leading, because they're all going to do their work differently to you, is a really important skill to have. And so you start at the basics with being able to listen and actively listen, but pursuing that kind of, and everyone has a lot of interest in it very often, about the basics of psychology, like how people are in a workplace in their everyday lives. So I think that's a really important background and really strong basis to have. I'm a statutory planner, so prior to my current role, I've been primarily involved in development assessment. So I looked after the CBD of Brisbane and the inner 5K, and I led a team of people who assessed development applications for CBD towers and inner city developments, things that happen on the river and things like that. So it was very exciting, very dynamic, but really we are presented with some plans and drawings of developments, and then we look at the city plan, which is the planning scheme for the city of Brisbane, and we assess those developments against that. I've also worked at the state government and a private consulting firm where I was on those other sides of town planning, of the plan making and of the lodging applications. And I've just found that this is the part that suited me the most. The Brisbane Airport Corporation and the state government, they have their own rules, but they still are a piece of the puzzle in Brisbane. And so I talk to them about how they're going to fit into the puzzle of Greater Brisbane. So it's more of a negotiation role with different stakeholders. So it's captured a different part of a skill set in stakeholder engagement, talking to people and negotiating outcomes. I think the most rewarding part is seeing the outcomes hit the ground and also turn out better than you expected. It doesn't often happen. That's one of the things. You see a project finished and you go to visit it and people in Brisbane love it and say it's one of the things that they really like. So there's all these laneways in Brisbane that the developments that I had a part in assessing and approving came to be, and people say, oh, they love going to this laneway and they love this artwork, and you really feel a sense of appreciation that, wow, I played a small part in making that happen, and that's really exciting because that's real world outcomes. The hard bit is sometimes the people aspect of it. Whilst the people part is also rewarding because you can help people and work with some really great people and create teams, both with the people you work with inside an organisation but also outside. When you partner with those people outside to achieve an outcome, it's great. But there can be some pretty tough times when you don't agree and the negotiations don't go according to plan. That's one of the challenges, I think, of being able to appreciate that you can't always come out on top. I think the industry itself is underlyingly the same. We're dealing with land uses, buildings and places, but I think the focus of change to what people do in places and what they use places for, so their needs have slightly changed. There's a lot more people living in apartments, so we have to focus on the kind of public realm and spaces that we create for them because they don't necessarily have their own backyard. Technology's played a big part in that too, about how people's expectations of what they're getting from technology. So there's got to be Wi-Fi everywhere, and spaces operate differently because people like to sit there and be able to plug into their device as opposed to recreating it in a physical sense. And the other thing about limited space, so you go from having lots of land to be able to be developed to now more infill, like what have we got left and how can we use that better, and the kind of conflicts that arise in neighbourhoods when you're trying to fill up spaces and there's a perception that it's already full. So there's a whole different way of dealing with the community and engaging with the community, and their needs seem to be different. I think in the world there's a whole facet of development in developing countries where they're moving very fast and developing quickly, and they haven't got infrastructure to support the kind of speed of development that they're undergoing. It's very exciting as a town planner, but also quite challenging in being able to deliver those things to match up with each other. And even here in Brisbane, there is certainly a demand for new homes for people and dwellings, but how do we meet that demand? So that's dealing with then the infrastructure planners and transport planners and land use planners to make that all meet up. So it is certainly exciting and changing and moving all the time. Keep all your options open. If you don't think university is the path for you, then that is fine. If you would like to explore other options, whether it's a trade or a TAFE course, or just go out and work for a while, do it. You're really, really young to be trying to choose your career path for the rest of your life. I underwent a couple of changes before I finished school. Even I changed university courses, and in the end, I think that was actually, to use a very corny phrase, character building. It really helps you decide what you want to do. These days, people don't stay in a career as long as they used to. Like for me, staying in this career for this long has been a really long time comparatively, but because I've had the opportunity to change my role and my job, it's kept me interested. I think that being asked to choose your career at 15, 16, 17 is a huge ask. And my advice would be, if you want to go to uni, go, because it's an awesome time. It's great fun, and you do learn a lot about dealing with people and doing things you don't want to do. So that is a life skill that you can gain. But once you're at university, you can change. It's easy once you're in there. Change courses, change your major, take a year off and defer. just get in there and then see what you want to do. But don't feel this pressure or expectation to decide now what you want to do for the rest of your life.